Rick Dawson, Miracle Man. And you guys are awesome too. Thank you for joining us here for the Village's Democratic meeting in collaboration with the Sumpter Democratic Party and a host of others. And thanks to all the volunteers who set all this up. So how many of you got to the Doug Emhoff event in Golf Caravan yesterday? Was that an awesome time? All right, I was stuck driving a van full of staff back and forth from the airport, so I didn't get to see it. But I did get my picture taken with him. So I'll be selling those for a couple bucks. All right, let's see. We got a lot going on today, so I'm trying to figure out which order we should do everything. Oh yeah, we will start at the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm sorry. Thank you for pointing that out. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Yeah. Yes.
68% of the vote in 2020. But this summer, hundreds of Kamala Harris supporters in golf carts held a rally for the Vice President. So, Emhoff, to say hello.
The only thing she's going to ask me about was, you saw the golf carts at the Villages!
And to make the case against Donald Trump in his backyard, which has actually become more competitive than expected.
Kept walking. It's like he never shook a woman's hand before. And she just walked right up to him, and she said, "Hi, I'm Kamala Harris." He hated that. It reminds me of one of her big rallies a few weeks ago. You remember the one where she said, "If you've got something to say, say it to my face." Well, Donald Trump finally had his chance. All the crap he's been spewing at her all these months, she's right there. Just look over and say it to her face. He did not look at her once. He did not have the courage to look at her even one time. Oh, I'm gonna get to that. But she didn't have that problem of looking him right in the eye during that debate, did she? Let's see. She looked him right in the eye and said, "You are a disgrace." She looked him right in the eye and said, "World leaders are laughing at you." She revealed to the entire world what he is, a fraud.
Indeed. Okay, so a lot of comments have come in overnight about how great that rally was and everything, and some of them are crediting the club with doing that. In fact, it was the hardworking folks at the Sumpter County Democratic Party. All we really did was show up. We advertised it and got you all out, so thank you for coming. Bob Bird from the Sumpter DEC is going to say a couple of words about that.
I'm a little shorter than dinner, so. The operative words is there's no detail that's too small to be taken care of, and be flexible. And that was kind of the MO. So last week, we got some indication that there might be a special visitor to come. We can't tell you 100% that it's going to happen, and we can't tell you who it's going to be. But do you have any rooms available? Well, guess what? If you live in the villages, you are using your facilities. And so it's like, okay, well, we have this, but that's it. Everything else is tied up. So last weekend, Chris Anderson and I put in an application for the biggest room we could find. And then at the same time, the details were starting to emerge. It's like, okay, it's not just probable, it's likely. And it's like, so what the hell do we do with that? So it's like, well, what is this? You know, is it a rally? Is it volunteer appreciation? Oh, well, it's not going to be a rally. Maybe it's going to be volunteer appreciation. It's like, okay, well, my head's spinning. So we put in the application. Monday morning we find out not only have we done that, but so has the local Harris, Florida campaign. So now we have kind of two competing applications for like the one big room that's available. So we call and talk to the guy that was in charge of rooms north of, I think, 44, who'd been on the job 3 weeks, and he goes, oh, okay, well, there's somebody, and I think we can bump it, and then it's like, okay, when are we talking about? It's like early afternoon. It's like, okay, well, that shouldn't be a problem in this facility. And then, of course, they have to coordinate with other activities, and on and on and on. So it's like, okay, why don't we send out an invite, because now we think it's going to happen, but we haven't absolutely locked down the biggest room. Now, some people think, well, the village is giving us a hard time because they don't love Democrats. They're business people, they want our money, and if it's available, they're happy to rent it to us. And so, as we were proceeding with that, then it was like, what about the Sharon? Could we rent the Sharon? That has 1,000. And now, the room that we got is 200 theater seating like this. But if you take out most of the seats, then you can get in almost 400. So then it's like, okay. And of course, time is ticking as we go forward. And of course, you're all calling me or texting me saying, I got in, where is it and when is it? It's like, I don't know. Until really seemed like 4 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon, it was still, are we going to the Sharon? And then somebody goes, well, what about the polo fields? And it's like, okay, who the hell is coming? And then it's like, you'll be delighted. It's like, okay, well, finally then, we were told it was going to be the second gentleman, and then it was on and on and on. So as we do the preparation moving forward, we had the day before like 3 walkthroughs with Secret Service, their advance team, and everybody else. And whoever's calling me, would you please stop that? And then the day of the event, of course, really even the night before, then everything was kind of set, and they decided it's like we can get the most people in if we have most people standing. It's like, man, that's a killer for people my age. I don't know about you, but it's a killer, and I've had a knee replacement, and none of that works. So it's like, let me make sure everybody knows what the deal is. And so I had several people say, well, I was accepted, but I just can't stand that long. So we understand. Well then, as we proceed through the day, then of course it decides to rain as we're standing in line. Bernard, I will call you back. So, as the first gentleman touches down over at the Leesburg Airport, the head of the advance team comes up to me and said, where can I buy a steamer? Well, my wife has one, and I'm only 6 minutes from here. So it's like, what do you need a steamer for? The flag had wrinkles in it, and it was going to be behind the first gentleman. It's like, no detail is too small for the advance team. So anyway, with your help, with your coordination, thank you. We pulled it off. So, we have two things coming up soon. The Sunday, October 6th for Kamala Palooza in front of our Democratic headquarters. We're going to have 3 singers and food trucks and so on. And we're going to make sure everybody's registered for vote by mail, have a good time, and keep the energy up. And also, I think it's Monday, Columbus Day, the 14th. We're having a golf cart caravan to drop our vote by mail ballots. We're going to meet at Eisenhower, caravan up to the supervisor election, and drop our vote by mail ballots. Thank you.
I'm not that tall. All right, here's a preview of what we're going to go through today. Our main in-person speaker, Kolyn Brown from the Yes on 4 campaign, is en route, or she might have gotten here. Where is she? Oh, there you are. Hi, hold on. You're not up yet. She's got the long presentation. I got to get through a couple of shorter ones here. Senate candidate Debbie Mucarsel-Powell is going to zoom in. She's supposed to be here about 10:30, and we'll get a signal from the tech team, who assure me everything will work perfectly when she comes in. So I thought I would fill a couple of earlier spots before Debbie comes in, so we don't have to interrupt the keynote speaker, with some local announcements. So first up is Lydia Bush from the DEC.
Good morning. I'm going to get real personal here right away, and I'm going to ask all of you, please raise your hand if you did not get a vote by mail for the August primary. Raise your hand. We will know. Okay, there's some hands out there. I have some good news and I have some bad news. The bad news we're going to start with is that on December 31st, 2022, the Florida legislature, led by the Republicans, disregarded all of the vote by mail ballots that are enrollees that had been enrolled up to that time. Everyone lost their vote by mail rights. If you have not re-enrolled, you did not get a ballot for the primary, and you will not get one for the upcoming general election. Many of your neighbors do not know this. And we are trying to reach all of them because most Democrats vote by mail. So consequently, 45% of our Democrats are registered and 55% of them are not. We are asking for your help so that on November 6th, you wake up and you knew you did everything possible to make sure that every Democrat voted. Back at a table in the back there, Virginia, Ann, and I are signing up canvassers. I know that's a word you're all going, oh my gosh, canvasser, I can't do that. We are sending out canvassers to registered Democrats and to registered left-leaning non-party affiliates. These are people who have shown interest in the Democratic Party, by signing up on petitions or by making contributions to campaigns. So we have a feeling that they are leaning Democratic. We need your help to go out in your neighborhood to your very own neighbors and ask them to please re-enroll for vote by mail. I know you're thinking, oh, I can't do that. You are going to talk to registered Democrats and to left-leaning NPAs. These are your neighbors. And every single one of their votes will help Kamala be elected in November. So please come back to our table, sign up. It is so, so necessary that you do. You want to make sure that when it comes November 6th, you did something to help make sure that Kamala was elected.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, and get registered to vote by mail for sure. All right, next up from Woke Nation, Florida, our own local group that's part of the Red Wine and Blue Trouble Nation organization around the country, Dee Melvin.
He really is tall. Can you hear me back there? No? Can I talk louder? There? Oh. Okay, so last month I talked about Woke Nation, told you all the things we were doing, and believe it or not, some of you reached out and invited us into your homes to talk to your neighbors and your friends. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Many of you volunteered to help us with our postcards. We're trying to stop Project 2025. That is our mission today. So we've mailed over 6,000 postcards, and we have, depending on how our money goes, we're going to do at least 2,000 more.
He was the ultimate Democrat.
So there are handouts on the back on Project 2025. If you can't get the information, please pick them up. There's a couple of samples that are back there. If you want to look at it, but please don't take it. Those are the last two I have. I brought a handful, but they're all gone now. I think that's it. So thank you. If you would like to donate to our effort, there's a little bucket back there with a sign, postcard donations, and $1, 50 cents, whatever you can give us would be great, because it will pay for postage for these postcards. Thank you so much.
I hate technology. Let's see. Debbie yet? No Debbie? Okay. All right, so one of the reasons the Villages has exploded in the national consciousness is because we have a congressional candidate who really knows how to use social media, and every time she posts something about the Villages, it goes pretty much viral. She posted the first golf cart caravan for Harris, 5.2 million views. Everybody was calling us saying, what's going on in the Villages? You may have gotten some of those calls, I sure did, from friends and relatives around the country. She posted 6 different cuts last night before the event, during the event, and after the event. This morning I looked, and cumulatively they had like 1.5 million views. So people know the Villages, and they certainly know Barbie Harden Hall.
Hello. So, since the first time I met many of you back in January, when I first started my campaign, my very first event ever was at the Villages Democratic Club, where I did not know what I was doing. But you all were supportive, you've all supported me since then, and since very early on in January, because my district covers all the way over to Orange County, I have been telling people, there's something going on. when you get out and you talk to people, and I have people coming up to me and saying, I'm a Republican, but I'm an independent, but, and I knew, and I've been telling, like, you have to go out and talk to people, come to the villages, because something is going on. And then with that golf cart parade, and all the attention it got, and I was able to say, this is what I've been telling you for months and months and months. And we all know that you guys have been doing what you've been doing, and you've been doing the work even when no eyes were on you. And it's just great that now we're getting attention for it. When I started this race, like people thought of Democrats in the villages, it was like, yeah, no chance, good luck, have fun. But I knew something different. And thanks to a lot of your help, my race is getting a lot of attention. And thankfully I'm in a group where I do not have to explain Daniel Webster. And I don't have to explain how he got the moniker Do Nothing Dan. Because in his 14 years in Congress, he has passed one piece of legislation. That was 2,223 days ago. He has one of the highest absentee rates in all of Congress, which makes him the least effective member of Congress. And he's been paid $2,436,000 in that time. And to me, should we have a legislator who doesn't legislate? No. So since I got into this race, I have been basically trying to poke the bear. Wake up, wake up, wake up. And nothing. But then things started kind of changing. I would go to events and he would come in, and I know I'm in a group where I'm probably one of, if not the youngest person here, and that's okay. Age is just a number, right? But then when he couldn't or wouldn't do anything, including a candidate parade where we were just supposed to walk across the stage and wave, and even though he was there, he refused to walk with me across the stage. And I come to realize he doesn't want that picture. He doesn't want that image of me next to him, because it's a huge contrast, especially since he's been using campaign materials from 10 years ago. And then when his staff comes up to me and says, you know, he has really high value and moral character, and he won't ever say anything bad about you, so we hope that you pay him the same kindness. And I said, I won't tell a lie, but I'm not going to sugarcoat his record for his benefit. It is time for him to own up and answer the questions of his record. It's been 10 years since he has appeared before his constituents in a town hall setting that is not very friendly, paid to be there, Republicans, whatever. And I have local news reaching out to both of us. Let's do a debate, let's do a televised town hall. Crickets. Nothing. I sent out a press release and offered up 2 town halls where the constituents get to ask us the questions and we get to stand in front of you and answer them. And he has to stand in front of you and answer for his record. Nothing. He refuses to do it. And I refuse to allow him to walk into this seat again, where he will sit there for 2 years and not do the work. So we're going to keep going. And I will tell you how worried they are, because even though Daniel Webster is not putting up a fight, his new surrogate, which is Evan Power, the chairman of the Florida GOP, is for him. And on the day of the primary race, this is the last thing, the day of the primary race, when he's posting all of his congratulations to all the Republican primary winners, I was the only Democratic congressional candidate that he, Evan Power, the chair of the Florida GOP, directly called out and said, "We're looking forward to beating you in November." And I said, "Bring it on." So thank you for all your support. We have a few events in the villages you all are going to get invites for. Obviously, this works, getting out the message, so anything you guys can do to help, I appreciate it, because this November we're going to finally retire 44-year career politician Daniel Webster.
And speaking of retirement, we now have the person who's going to retire Rick Scott. Our next senator, Debbie Mucarsel-Powell.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Yes. Yes. Okay, great, great. Good morning, villages. I heard and saw you caused a little bit of an event yesterday there. I saw that the vice president's husband, Doug, was there, and it looks incredible, and I'm looking forward to even a bigger rally when I come back to the villages. I'm just telling you right now. For those of you that I still haven't met, I'm Debbie Mucarsel-Powell. I am now honored to be your official nominee to become Florida's next U.S. Senator and retire Rick Scott in November. I hear the same thing from so many families, people that are struggling to pay their rent. They can't afford to pay for the skyrocketing property insurance crisis that we're facing. I have met seniors that are being forced to go back to work because they can't afford the cost of living here in the state of Florida. But when you have in the Senate someone like Rick Scott, someone that oversaw the largest Medicare fraud in the history of this country, someone that is now sitting on over $100 million more of the money that he already had just by being in the U.S. Senate, he has absolutely no idea what it's like for that single mom that now has to get a second job just to pay for her child's medicine, or for the woman that I met in the Panhandle in her late 60s, who now has to work in an Uber at night just to pay for her insurance rates. I'm talking to you right now as someone that learned from my mother. My mother had the incredible courage to leave everything in our home country of Ecuador when I was very young. She brought my sisters and I looking for the freedoms that Rick Scott is now robbing us of. The freedom to be able to work one job and be able to make it here in the United States. The freedom for seniors to be able to retire with dignity. And the freedom for a woman to be able to make our own reproductive choices. Now, we know here in the state of Florida that we have been ground zero for attacks against those freedoms and our democracy. When I am on my way right now to a rally to lift up the issue that, unfortunately, in May 1st, we woke up to live in a state with less rights than so many women have had that have fought for here in the state of Florida. A 6-week abortion ban that, with hardly any exceptions to rape and incest, a ban that puts at risk the lives of so many women. I met a woman last week, Anya Cook, who was turned away by her doctor's office when she was facing a dangerous pregnancy. It was past the 15-week mark. She was sent home. The next day, she lost half her blood, almost died. She had sepsis all over her body, and she had to make a decision whether they would remove her reproductive organs. This is happening here in the state of Florida. This is happening in our country because of Trump's and Rick Scott's abortion ban. Trump and Rick Scott both celebrated overturning Roe v. Wade. Rick Scott actually has said multiple times that he supports this 6-week ban, that he would have signed it into law if he was governor. He has pushed for a national abortion ban, voted against access to contraception, voted against access to IVF, and then placed an ad all over the state saying that he wants to protect IVF. This is the fraud, everyone, that we have in the United States Senate. And it is the fraud that I am going to retire in November. Because when we organize, when we create movements, when we have the men joining us as well, we win. And that's exactly what we're doing. I have been watching the mobilization across the state all over, whether it was in Jacksonville last week, Sarasota, Orlando, the Panhandle. People are ready to do the work that it takes to make sure that we finally get our state back on track. I met a young woman that is willing to go out, register her friends at the university to vote, completely engaged at the university in Gainesville, that said that for her, this is the top issue, that she can't believe that she's now facing the threat that she may not be able to get the health care that she needs here in the state of Florida. And so I feel extremely optimistic. We need to make sure that we elect the first woman president, Kamala Harris, to the White House, that she will not be able to codify Roe v. Wade and build on the progress that we've already made if she doesn't have the Senate. So let me make this very clear, because I want everyone in Florida to understand. This is the most important race right now that we have at the top of the ticket. Why? Because we are right now facing the threat that we may lose the Senate majority. We must retain the Senate majority. And the only way that we're going to be able to do that is by picking up a seat. Right now, this is the seat, the top pickup opportunity for us to be able to deliver the majority for Kamala Harris so that she can continue to build on the work that she's already done. Remember, Rick Scott wrote a plan that would eliminate medical and social security, life-saving programs for seniors like my mom. I've seen her struggles. If he gets back to the Senate, he wants to become Senate Majority Leader, and he will push that plan to eliminate these programs. And so we, right now, like Vice President Kamala Harris just a couple of days mentioned in the rally, said we're the underdogs, and we are absolutely the underdogs, because we are facing these dark money groups that will stop at nothing to hold on to power and to retain that power, and that includes Rick Scott. So I am asking you, do everything you can. I know you are. I've seen you, I've watched you, I've been at the villages, I'm coming back. I know you're working hard. I want you to think of ways to bring more people into this movement. Make sure that people know that the registration deadline is October 7th, that if they want to request a vote by mail, this is the moment to do so. Make sure that they have a plan to vote early, if that's the way that they choose to do that. Have people volunteer. We're going to have canvases all over the state, debbieforflorida.com. And most importantly, share my story. Share the importance of this race to everyone that you talk to. I know that we can win. We're within 1 point, everyone. We're within 1 point, and we're just starting right now to communicate all across the state. I am going to do everything in my power to represent you in Washington, D.C. And I hope that you are with me every step of the way. Thank you so much.
I think you can count on that. We'll see you later. We want her back, that's
real
for
quick,
sure.
Guys.
Thank you, everybody.
I'd love to get a screenshot of everybody with Debbie. If we can just pan the camera and if somebody, the host, can take a screenshot on the there, we'd love to do that, so that way we can post it on social media. That's perfect.
All right,
Right
everybody.
there.
Cheer for Debbie.
Thank you, everyone. See you soon.
Hi, Andy. Live from Carolina, Andy Kleiman. All right. So, do we have any Lake County peeps in the room here? All right. Have I got a candidate for you? Your House Democrat candidate for Lake County, Jackie Arndt.
many people, and so it feels so good that you're all Democrats. We're here for the same reason, to get the insanity out of Tallahassee, right? So let me tell you about myself. I am Jackie Arndt. I am running for House District 26, that's in Lake County. Where are my Lake County peeps? Woo! Excellent. And a little bit about myself. I am very involved with the Democrats. I joined in 2016 when you know who got elected. Can't have him again. I got very involved. You know, what happens when you get involved with the Democrats. They just pull you in. But what a great group of people that I get to work with. I'm with the secretary for the Golden Triangle Democratic Club. I'm a precinct captain. And I am very happy to say that I founded and am now president of the Lake County Democratic Environmental Caucus. I'm very involved with other environmental groups, as well as I am involved with the Initiative for the Right to Clean Water, and if you haven't signed the new petition, I encourage you to please make sure that you do. I'm also involved with no2.org. Vote no on Amendment 2. So why did I decide to run? Well, as you can tell, it was probably because of the environment. My Lake County people will know, and I'm sure everybody here from Sumpter and Merriam will know as well, we are growing leaps and bounds. And with that growth comes danger to our environment. There's a lot of water pollution happening because of runoff from the developments that are growing up like the forests all over the place. And the runoff that happens with this development causes our waters to have problems, including with the nitrogen that runs off from big agriculture and such. Well, we need to make sure that our water stays clean and pure. We have a future generation that's coming up here, and we need to make sure that our water is clean for them. Plus, with all this growth, we're going to be losing a lot of water. So we need to make sure that we protect our waters, protect our lands, and protect the wildlife habitats. Our governor, our Republican governor, doesn't want us to mention global climate change. Well, it's here, all right? With the flooding and the rain and the wind, it's here, it's not going away, and it's impacting us with our personal, our property insurance. So that's another thing I started thinking about when I began to run. How, if we're not going to do anything about our environment, the problems are just going to increase. And then the damage to the property is going to occur, our claims are going to go up, our prices are going to go up, and our Republican legislature is doing nothing to stop this. The insurance company gave, I think it was like $10 million or $14 million to DeSantis and the Republican Party. They are on bended knees to the insurance company. But they're not going to do it. Jack for the environment. That means that they don't care about your children, your grandchildren, their children, and so forth and so on. I believe that we need to work for the future of this county, of this state. We're ground zero. What happens to Florida is happening all over. So I want to bring that to Tallahassee when I get up there in November. In addition, I do have some other issues that weigh heavily on me. The fact that our government wants to put themselves in the middle of my discussion with my doctor over my reproductive choices and health. How dare they? How dare the Republican Party take away the rights that I had, but my grandchild won't have? No. That insanity has to stop. In addition, our education. I'm sorry, but if my kid wants to read and tango makes 3, by God, my child will read that. And everybody else's child should read that. And no child should go into a classroom and not be able to be who they are. And the teachers shouldn't have to be scared that what they're teaching is going against the feelings of our Republican legislators and all the people that support them. There's so many issues that are wrong in this state right now because of the Republican Party. And I am asking you to help me get to Tallahassee so that I can fix that. My Republican candidate, she's a Trumper, she's a MAGA extremist, and she echoes Project 2025. Exactly. So we cannot have her anywhere near our government writing laws. She just needs to go back on her tractor and ride away. So, I am here asking for your help. I need volunteers to help me canvass, phone bank, write postcards, text, and just get out my information to all of the people in my district, which is HD 25. I have a wonderful website that I'm continuously working on. Please visit it. It's Jackie for HD26.com. That's Jackie, the number 4, HD26.com. There are 2 buttons, 2 important buttons there, once you finish scrolling through and reading all about me. The first one is a donate button. Please, if you can. I am not taking any insurance company money, real estate money, construction money, like my Republican candidate is, because I am not going to be, going to be in their pocket. I want grassroots because that's who I'm going to represent. There's another button there, the volunteer. Please go. Even if you can do an hour, that would help so much. So again, I am Jackie Arndt. Aren't you ready for a change? I am Jackie Arndt, and I am running for House District 26. And I so appreciate being able to come up here and speak to all my wonderful Democrats in the villages. Woo! Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie. And I was sort of surprised that our developer was not the one who proposed building golf courses in the state parks. Must have been a little too far away from it here. Okay, so I joke, but these are very serious issues, and we have another candidate for House, familiar to us in Sumpter County, who is working hard to get into office so he can deal with the most serious issues that we have to face in this state. Please say hello again to Ash Marwal.
Good morning. It's so nice to see all Democrats here all together in this one big room. Wonderful. There's new energy, there's new power. Let's do it. Let's win it top to bottom, the whole way. And we should do it this time. Since there are so many new faces, I want to introduce myself again. I'm Ash Marwal for the people. I'm running for State House District 52, which is all of Sumpter County and eastern half of Hernando County. So I travel 50 miles to go to Hernando County, 50 miles or less to Webster, So I'm covering all of the areas and I'm meeting people. And I am actually sad to say that I'm running into people who are having difficulty making ends meet. I met a lady whose electricity has been turned off because she cannot pay the bill. I met someone, a couple, they were begging for money for food, for groceries. This is happening right here in our neighborhood. And it is so sad, and it's the Republican policies of the last 22 years that have made housing so expensive. And last week there was a report by United Way, and it said half the households in Florida, there are 9 million households, 4.5 million households are spending more than 30% of their income on housing. What that means is there's less left for basic needs. And it gets worse. 1/3 of the households, which means 3 million households, are spending more than 50% of their income on housing. This has to come to an end. And I want to tell you about my opponent. And I won't name him because I bet most of you don't even know who he is. He is doing absolutely nothing in this election. He is hoping that the Republicans, like sheep, will come and vote for him. And he will get reelected. The only meeting he held was a Republican meeting on April 10th in the Brownwood Hotel. And they talked about everything else except the two main issues: abortion and housing costs, affordability. When I first spoke at the Villages Club, I told you I have only 3 issues, 3 A's: abortion, affordability, and accountability. And the issues remain the same. So on affordability, on housing, the biggest culprit is the homeowner's insurance. And I have a proposal. Actually, it's not mine. It was proposed by a bipartisan group of legislators 15 years ago. It was presented again this year by the Democrats. And what it is in very simple terms, you create a non-profit insurance company which will only provide hurricane and windstorm insurance. So in the years there is no windstorm, there is no hurricane, they build up the fund. And the year there is a hurricane, they pay the damages. What this will do is it will free up all other insurance companies to provide only fire and theft insurance. What this will do, and this has been studied extensively, like I said, it was presented 15 years ago. And what this will do is drop our premiums like a rock. But what happened is my opponent sits on the Insurance and Banking Subcommittee. It was presented on March 8th, 2024. And the Insurance and Banking Subcommittee rejected it. It never even made to the House for a vote. This is the issue we need to bring up and make housing a little bit more affordable for people, especially the ones at the bottom rung. And anyway, the bottom rung is not just a bottom rung, it's half of the households in Florida. That's what we are talking about. And the other issue, the abortion, you have heard enough. And you will hear more from our featured speaker on Yes on 4. But what we don't know, what we are waiting to see what happens on November 5th, is I'm hoping people will vote for me, and people will vote yes on Amendment 4. And we have a very Republican newspaper in the villages called the Daily Sun. And the Daily Sun made a mistake on August 24th, 2024, which is about 3 weeks ago. They had this. This is from the Daily Sun. They said 69% of Florida voters want some access to abortion. This is what we need. We need to stop this what is being done by the Republican leadership. I don't want to say the population. I think the general population, they just vote Republican because they believe in what the system does. But the reality is the leadership is taking advantage of them. Let's end this pay-to-play program where the insurance companies are paying campaign donations to Republicans and Republicans are getting elected and we are all paying the bill. Let's bring this to an end, top to bottom. Thank you.
Thank you, Ash. So believe it or not, there are still some nonpartisan races that are going to be on our ballot. And one of those local races is for the clerk of the Circuit Court of Sumpter County. We have a longtime incumbent in that office, Gloria Hayward, and she is here to tell you about herself and why she should be reelected.
Good morning, everyone. Let's see if I can get this set up so I can talk and move around. I am Gloria Hayward, Sumpter County Clerk of the Circuit Court and Comptroller. You hearing? Yeah, I'm hearing the feedback on the back here. All right, this is good. Can you hear me back there? Yeah. Hayward, Sumpter County Clerk of the Circuit Court and Comptroller. I am the last of your elected officials that is still a Democrat. The last. If you have gotten a traffic ticket, filed a probate case, been summoned for jury duty, got a passport, or applied for a marriage license, you have been in my office. The clerk's office is the hub of county government. I want to tell you, I started my career when I was 17 as a senior at Wildwood High School. I was very fortunate to have some great mentors, and I had 5 years of intense training in finance, records, and the courts. We had a constitutional amendment that changed the structure of our court system. Because of my overall knowledge, I got to manage the county court division, which included not only all of the courts, but all of the financials and the budgeting and the auditing for both county and circuit court. During that time, with the growth of our county, not what we're experiencing now, but the growth back in the 80s, I got to sit on a statewide committee with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. They were initiating a new offender-based tracking system, and they needed the efforts of the clerk to track this unique number from the time of arrest to the time of disposition. So I got to sit on this committee to help form the procedures for the clerk's office. We are still using that procedure today, but it was going to take some technology to be able to be in compliance and report this. Sumpter County did not have a lot of money back then, and with the support of the commissioners, I learned how to write grants. I was able to write grants with the Department of Law Enforcement for 3 years. We got funding to bring in new technology, both hardware, software, and applications. While I was doing this, I got an opportunity to write a grant for a juvenile diversion program. We have juveniles, I've watched them over the years, come and go in the juvenile system with no accountability, like a revolving door. So, again, with the help of the commissioners, I applied for a grant and it was approved. So when I was elected in '96, I was qualified to take office of Clerk of the Circuit Court. I had overall experience in all divisions. I had financial training, budget, and auditing. So I felt comfortable when I stepped out and ran for office. I've been elected for 28 years. I now have 55 years in the clerk's office. So I am not ready to go out to pasture. I am not ready to retire. I still have work to be done. So when I was elected in 1997, I started my Teen Court program. I don't know if y'all have heard about the program, but it is a juvenile offender program to get kids out of the criminal system. They have to be accountable, so do their parents. It is one of the best teen court programs in the state of Florida. It is still going strong 28 years later, and it is one of the very few that is actually managed and run by the Clerk of Circuit Court. I'm very proud of all the young people and the families that we have helped with this program. Florida passed another constitutional amendment in 2004 that once again changed the structure of the clerk's office. I am the only elected official with a bifurcated budget. My office is now split between my clerk to the board functions, my admin and records are funded through the county. My court side, which is my biggest departments, are funded with the assessments of fines, costs, filing fees, and service charges. So they in turn made the clerk a collection agent. I now have to do partial payments on fines and costs, and we have an in-house collection service, something I thought we would never see. But if we do not collect the revenue, I can't pay my staff or my operating costs. It is something that's fractured and has never been fixed in the legislature, but it takes a lot of time for me doing financial records now, day to day. I have 28 years experience serving you as Sumpter County Clerk of Court. I'm honored to serve you as Clerk of Circuit Court. I get auditors 4 times a year. We handle millions of dollars. Our audits have all been good. I am proud of our accountability and transparency. For the past 15 years, we have we have earned the Florida Government Accounting Award. So I'm very proud of that. And if you didn't know, Sumpter County is going to build a new service center in Sumterville. They are working on it right now. Probably within the next 2 years, there'll be a new service center on the corner of 301 and 470. That is to serve the public that is moving south with the growth of the villages. My dad was born and raised in Sumterville. That's where I lived when I started my career. I have now the honor that that building will be named after me. That is for my years of service, and I'm very proud of that. I am going to be on the ballot November 5th. I am asking for your support, your friends and your family, to give me an opportunity to continue serving you for the next 4 years. Thank you.
I've never felt so tall, I'll tell you. It's just like, okay. Now, our very patient featured speaker who comes to us from Orlando. She is the Deputy Director of Campaigning for the Yes on 4 Amendment 4 on the November ballot. And that amendment, among other things, is a message to DeSantis and the legislature to stop interfering in decisions women should be free to make that are none of their damn business. Please welcome Kolyn Brown.
I've got a presentation that I'm going to be sharing with you all today, and I'm going to try to speak very loudly into this microphone as I do so. Great. We're going to be talking about Amendment 4, about the extreme abortion ban that was enacted on May 1st here in Florida. And we're going to talk about the best ways to talk about Amendment 4 with other voters. So I appreciate your time today. Okay, awesome. Pulling up my speaker notes. I think this is the largest crowd I think I've ever spoken for. I appreciate your support. All right. My name is Kolyn. I use she or they pronouns. I'm a deputy organizing director with Yes on 4. I live in Orlando, Florida. I've been doing this work for a long time. I come from Planned Parenthood before working with Yes on 4. Hi, Ash. Ash has been talking to me via email, but I'm here to talk to you about how the overwhelming majority of Floridians think we should all have the freedom to make our own personal health care decisions without interference from politicians. Despite that, extreme politicians have passed one of the most extreme bans in the nation. It bans abortion at 6 weeks before most patients even realize that they're pregnant. And Amendment 4 is here to put those decisions back in the hands of patients and their doctors. Yes on 4 is a statewide campaign of allied organizations and concerned citizens like you working together to limit government interference with abortion. Our leading partner organizations are ACLU of Florida, Florida Rising, Planned Parenthood, 1199 SEIU, Florida Voices, and Florida Women's Freedom Coalition. Plus we have over 200 endorsing organizations across the country, and over 100 supporting healthcare professionals. Our coalition works together to ensure we're reaching voters in diverse communities across the state about keeping the government out of abortion care. So on May 1st, an extreme abortion ban with no real exceptions for rape or incest took effect. These so-called exceptions are meaningless. They require patients to jump through legal, procedural, and logistical hurdles on a time frame that for most is literally impossible. They are in the law by name only to trick voters into thinking that this ban is less extreme than it is. Also in Florida, patients are required to visit a doctor 24 hours apart, a physician 24 hours, 2 times 24 hours apart before receiving an abortion. So it just is on a timeline, again, that for most is literally impossible. And this still is in effect under the 6-week abortion ban. So this is our beautiful amendment. It is titled the Amendment to Limit Government Interference with Abortion. And the ballot summary is as follows. No law shall prohibit, penalize, delay, or restrict abortion before viability or when necessary to protect the patient's health, as determined by the patient's health care provider. This amendment does not change the legislature's constitutional authority to require notification to a parent or guardian before a minor has an abortion. So our job is to earn 60% of the vote in order to enshrine this paragraph into our state constitution, which will explicitly limit government interference with abortion. I know I've said that a million times already. You're gonna hear me say it so much because it is our strongest shared value. The Floridians are against bans. So what does Amendment 4 do? Our amendment is titled the Amendment to Limit Government Interference with Abortion. This amendment will stop the extreme abortion ban with no real exceptions. It will protect doctors from prosecution It will protect patients who seek abortions from prosecution, and it'll end the mandatory two-physician 24-hour waiting period rules. We need, again, 60% of the vote to get, we need 60% of Floridians to vote yes on this amendment in order to pass in November. There are a multitude of reasons that patients need abortion care, and healthcare conditions can be complex and nuanced. These are tragic, real Florida stories. There's Anya Cook, who Debbie Mucarsel-Powell was just speaking about. She was forced to deliver a stillborn fetus alone in a bathroom at a hair salon. She nearly lost her life from blood loss. There's Deborah Dorbert. She asked to terminate a pregnancy that wasn't viable, but her doctors and lawyers declined, fearful they would run afoul of Florida's abortion ban. Without other options, the Dorberts spent more than 3 months waiting for the birth and death of their child. It's terrible. And then there's countless stories of people having to travel out of state for care, which is simply not an option for a lot of people. And there's nowhere in the Southeast to absorb Florida's 84,000 patients. So there are many factors that influence experience of abortion stigma: race, gender, socioeconomic class, ability to get to an abortion clinic, access to sex education and contraception. As you know, there's many fake clinics around the state now. Lack of education, and immigration status. All these factors affect women and birthing folks differently in their experiences with abortion and abortion stigma. And then there's Florida voters. So according to recent polling, which I believe Ash Morrow was just talking about, a majority of Floridians support limiting government interference with abortion. This is really great news. Across party lines, cultures, religions, and social class, a majority of Floridians believe that government should not be involved with a woman's private healthcare medical decisions. So there are some guiding principles when talking about Amendment 4. The fate of Amendment 4 hinges on getting significant support from Republican and independent voters. We must not make this a partisan fight. We are on much stronger ground when we frame the ballot initiatives in terms of stopping government interference with abortion, as opposed to protecting the right to abortion. I know that many people in this room have been fighting this fight much longer than I have, and I know that pro-choice is a message that we all have sang loud and clear, but for the purposes of this amendment, we are talking about stopping government interference specifically. The best way to talk about abortion in Florida is to frame it as a medical decision that patients and doctors should have the freedom to make for themselves. Again, say it with me, without government interference. Do not take the bait on questions meant to put us on the defensive, and I'm going to talk about a little bit of the tricky Q&A that we come across, but wherever possible, pivot back to those shared values that Floridians deserve the freedom to make the decisions that are against government bans. So we don't want to talk about blanket legality. That only gets us to 61% of the vote. Talking about values, again, the amendment is not about making abortion legal in Florida. It's about preventing government interference with abortion. When we frame our message through the values of limiting government interference, we see support jump to 74%. It's very exciting, yes. Amendment 4 can't be a partisan fight. Math just doesn't add up that way unless you include Republicans. We must ensure that our campaign remains nonpartisan and call out those who believe ballot initiatives are about a democratic turnout mechanism. Our goal is to kick out all politicians, regardless of their party affiliation, out of our private medical health care decisions. So, what to say when you're talking to Florida voters and why you should say it. And before I talk about, our messaging here, I first just want to point out that I've been talking to a lot of voters, knocking a lot of doors, making a lot of phone calls. It's sad, a lot of people don't know about the extreme abortion ban. So we have to educate them on this extreme abortion ban and the need for Amendment 4, the only way to stop it. So the government should not interfere with personal medical decisions between Floridians and their doctors. We are opening, again, with that shared values statement. And doctors and nurses should not have to risk criminal prosecution to treat the patient right in front of them. We are again framing abortion as a medical decision, a patient-doctor decision. But Florida politicians had just banned abortion before many women even realized they're pregnant, without any real exceptions. And that's not all. They proposed laws that would ban all abortions and put access to common fertility treatments like IVF at risk. We're raising the stakes, heightening the threat of the 6-week ban without real exceptions to appeal to a wider swath of the electorate. These bans have dangerous consequences. In this example, we're using out-of-state examples, but I really encourage you to stick to Florida stories. Stories that I'm sure there's many personal stories out there that we all can share, but you want to tell real stories that outline the consequences of these bans. And then tapping into empathy. The fact is, we'll never know what someone else is going through. You're not in their shoes. That's why we must vote yes to keep the government out of exam rooms and make sure Florida families and their doctors have the freedom to make the decisions that are right for them. So we're connecting that yes vote to freedom from the government. So what not to say? Avoid talking about viability unless pushed on it. Never communicate in terms of weeks, months, or trimesters. If you are pushed on it, you're not a doctor, you're not treating that patient. That is the simplest way to answer that question. Avoid pregnant person, instead stick to patient, which leads into a medical frame. Do not attack Republicans, including DeSantis or Trump directly, instead refer to extreme politicians who banned abortion. Avoid getting dragged into the weeds about when, how often, and why abortions may happen later in pregnancy. Do not frame the amendment as a restoration of Roe, which is not in itself compelling to most voters. Instead, focus on keeping the government out of it and stopping extreme bans. Unless communicating with our base or other activists, don't mention Florida being a safe haven in the Southeast for abortion care. Many swing voters, for many swing voters, it triggers concerns about abortion tourism. So how to talk about the extreme abortion ban? There's 3 main points. We call it an extreme or near total abortion ban. We do not say 6 weeks. A lot of people don't understand what 6 weeks means gestationally. So we stick to extreme or near total abortion ban. The second point is that it's before many women even realize that they're pregnant. And the third point is that it doesn't have any real exceptions. Again, if you're pushed on that about the real exceptions, it requires patients to jump through hurdles that on a time frame that is impossible for folks to do. I myself am a survivor of child abuse. It took me 28 years to come to terms with that, let alone 15 weeks for some patients. That is not the case. And we can also add that the ban is strongly opposed by majorities of Floridians across party lines. Okay, so the tricky Q&A, and then I'm almost done here. But this, first of all, does this amendment allow for abortion for any reason until the moment of birth? No, right? That is nothing but a scare tactic. This amendment clearly allows for reasonable limits on abortions. Floridians believe that the government should stay out of private medical decisions between patients and doctors, and they understand that near total bans lead to dire consequences and force doctors to risk criminal prosecution just for treating their patients. So again, Amendment 4 is here to put these decisions back in the hands of Florida families and their doctors. So what does health care provider mean? That anyone could perform an abortion? Of course not. You don't go to your dentist for heart surgery. You wouldn't go to a massage therapist for an abortion. And healthcare providers are all bound by their scope of practice, standards of care, and ethics. These ridiculous, false claims are only meant to scare and confuse voters. Does this amendment undo parental protections in Florida? You'd be surprised, a lot of the opposition uses this talking point a lot, which is kind of crazy to me because it's in the amendment itself. We strongly agree that parents should have the right to advocate for their child's health, safety, and well-being, and we respect the will of Florida voters who have already voted to allow parents to do so. That's why this amendment expressly states that it does not change Florida's current constitutional protections. You do not have to respond and should not to respond to anything candidates or elected officials say, either about this amendment or about abortion generally. Don't respond to questions designed to bait us, for example, around the fact that the female justices voted against the amendment while the male justices voted for it. That should be ignored. And we should ignore public polls. A lot of the public polling has been framing these questions in a way that does not reflect the amendment. So when people bring up public polling, we should just talk about how we should pay attention to polls that specifically ask about ballot initiatives as they appear on the ballot. Okay, then there's the financial impact statement. I would like you all to take a good moment to read this. This is unfortunately the financial I don't understand a word from anyone. Oh, you can't read it. Too small, I'll read it to you. Unfortunately, okay, so a little background first. Floridians Protecting Freedom filed a lawsuit on April 5th that the November financial impact statement needed to be revised because it was outdated after the Supreme Court ruling that then enacted the 6-week abortion ban. So our campaign worked hard to ensure that the language of our initiative met constitutional standards, and the state should meet those same standards for clarity and accuracy so voters are not misled. But unfortunately, this is our financial impact statement. The proposed amendment would result in significantly more abortions and fewer live births per year in Florida. The increase in abortions could be even greater if the amendment invalidates laws requiring parental consent before minors undergo abortions and those ensuring only licensed physicians perform abortions. There is also uncertainty about whether the amendment will require the state to subsidize abortions with public funds. Litigation to resolve those and other uncertainties will result in additional costs to the state government and state courts that will negatively impact the state budget. An increase in abortions may negatively affect the growth of state and local revenues over time. Because the fiscal impact statement of increased abortions on state and local revenues and costs cannot be estimated with precision, the local impact of the proposed amendment is indeterminate. It is anti-abortion propaganda, and it is just a reminder to everyone that it's a reminder to Florida voters that politicians are playing dirty tricks to overcomplicate and politicize a simple administrative fix. The only way to stop the government interference is to vote yes on 4. They're coming after us. They're scared of us. And that's because we know that the majority of Floridians support this amendment. So this is just something I wanted to share with you all. The Florida Supreme Court voted on August 21st to keep this financial impact statement next to our amendment on the ballot. Absolutely tragic, and it's why it's so important that we need to educate voters on the amendment. We need to be talking about Amendment 4. We need to be posting on our social media. We need to be doing everything we can to educate voters about Amendment 4, and that they need to vote yes on Amendment 4. How can you support Yes on 4? You can help us reach voters about Amendment 4. You can help us do postcarding, door knocks, dials, texts, and community events, tabling at different farmers markets, you name it. We are trying to meet voters where they're at and talk to them face to face. So you can host a fundraiser for Yes on 4. You can join our weekly partner update call. It's every Wednesday morning. You can email Taylor at floridiansprotectingfreedom.com if you'd like to join that weekly partner update call. You can use this QR code to sign up to attend an action in your area. I always do this and no one ever takes out their phone. I see a couple, okay. And then finally, find and follow us online at Yes for Florida or FloridiansProtectingFreedom.com. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. And this is our QR code to our website to learn more. If you would like to get involved, please come find me. I've got some cards for you to sign, and we can get you started as soon as possible. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, there's a reason we don't use QR codes. We're old. But you're going to leave them up here for those who feel young at heart and want to pull out their phones. All right, we're going to wrap this up pretty quickly here. Just checking notes. I don't want to miss anything. That's all I can read. Okay, so before you leave, one request from our traffic control volunteers. Please pay attention to them. It will be a mess if anybody tries to turn left out of here because there's so many cars. Please turn right and work your way back to wherever you need to go. Okay, you've heard a lot of speakers talk about a lot of things that are very important to all of us. I'm going to go back to the beginning, what I said from Michelle Obama. We are going to do what? Something, anything to help, and everything matters. You all matter. Thank you so much for being here. Bye-bye.